There is something honest about rust. It does not lie about time. It does not pretend the years did not happen. It simply records them, quietly and without apology, in the skin of something that was once driven hard and kept long. Most people look at a rusted car and see a problem. A specific kind of person looks at the same car and sees something worth saving. That distinction between what most people see and what this person sees is not about cars at all. It never was. Consider the man spending a Saturday afternoon in a garage with a wire brush, a heat gun, and a section of quarter panel that has been surrendered almost entirely to oxidation. He is not doing this because it is efficient. Anyone watching knows it is not efficient. It would be cheaper, faster, and more rational by any standard financial analysis to let the car go, to sell it for parts, donate it, trade it in, or simply walk away. He knows this. The math has been run. The math has been run many times, usually late at night, and the math keeps coming out the same way. And still, Saturday morning arrives, and he is back in the garage with the wire brush. Something else is operating underneath it, something the math cannot reach. This is not sentimentality, not exactly, and it is not denial. What it actually is, takes more care to describe, because it is something genuine and relatively rare in a culture that has largely abandoned the skill set required to practice it. The behavior has roots that go back further than the car, further even than the person. There is a generational layer here worth examining. The people most likely to fix rust rather than walk away from it tend to have learned something specific in childhood, not from a school or a curriculum, but from watching someone else do it first. A parent or grandparent who treated objects not as disposable conveniences, but as relationships. Someone who sharpened blades instead of replacing them. Someone who resold shoes. Someone for whom the idea of discarding a thing because it had become difficult would have felt, at a moral level, like a small betrayal. These are inherited orientations, passed across generations not through language, but through behavior, through the sight of patient hands working on something that the rest of the world had given up on. Psychologists who study the relationship between people and their possessions have documented what they call the endowment effect, the well-established tendency for people to value things more highly simply because they own them. But the endowment effect alone does not explain what happens in a garage on a Saturday afternoon when a man with a wire brush is doing something the numbers cannot justify. The endowment effect is about valuation. What is happening here is about something deeper: identity. The car has become, over years of shared history, an object that holds the self inside it. Researchers in the field of object relations, the branch of psychology that examines how people form emotional attachments to the physical world, describe certain possessions as self-objects, not just things that belong to the person, but things that the person experiences as an extension of who they are. To let the car go is not to lose a vehicle. It is, at some level, to lose a piece of evidence that the self has continuity, that the years meant something, that the road was real. This connects to a particular kind of relationship with time. People who fix rust rather than walk away tend to think in longer arcs than most. They are not oriented toward the transaction, buy, consume, replace. They are oriented toward the project, the decade, the story. Where a shorter-term thinker sees a car that has failed, a longer-term thinker sees a car in a difficult chapter. The difference is not optimism, exactly. It is a different relationship to impermanence, a refusal to let the current condition of a thing define its entire worth. This trait does not stay inside the garage. It rarely does. The person who returns to a rusted quarter panel after 5 discouraging attempts is very likely the same person who returns to difficult conversations after 5 discouraging attempts. They stay in relationships through seasons other people would have abandoned. They do not let the current state of a friendship define its entire worth. They believe, not always consciously, but at some root level, that the thing underneath the damage is worth reaching, that the original structure is still sound, even when the surface tells a different story. Repair, for them, is not a mechanical act. It is an ethical posture, a statement about what deserves patience. There is a cultural story being pushed hard against these people, and it is worth naming. The economy of the last 40 years has been organized, in no small part, around the replacement cycle, the deliberate engineering of obsolescence, the design of objects that cannot be repaired, the cultivation of a psychology that experiences difficulty with an object as a reason to get a new one rather than a reason to get to work. Planned obsolescence is not just an industrial strategy. It is also a psychological project. It requires, to function, that people come to feel that their labor is not worth the effort, that they are not capable of doing the work, that the professional, the dealer, the manufacturer is the correct locus of authority over the object. The person in the garage with the wire brush is, in a quiet but real way, a dissenter from this project. He has declined the transaction. He has declined to be managed out of his own competence. There is something psychologists call internal locus of control, the belief that one's actions have genuine consequences, that outcomes are not simply assigned by external forces, but shaped by personal agency. People who score high on this measure tend to persist where others give up, tend to maintain effort in the face of uncertainty, and tend to believe that the condition of things is not fixed and final, but responsive to work. The man in the garage scores high. He has to. Only a person who believes that his actions matter would pick up a wire brush in front of a panel that looks, to most eyes, like a lost cause. The Saturday in the garage comes to an end. The light changes. The work is not finished. It may not be finished for many more Saturdays. He steps back and looks at the progress, which is real, but incomplete, which is the only kind of progress that ever exists in work worth doing. The car is not beautiful yet. It may take months before it is beautiful, but there is something in the quality of his looking, something in the way he studies the metal with the same attention other people reserve for things they love, that suggests he already knows what it will become. Not because he is certain, because he has decided. This is not about rust. It is about what a person does when the surface of something has deteriorated, and the question of whether the thing underneath is worth preserving has to be answered. Rust is just one version of that question. It is asked in garages and in marriages and in careers and in the long, slow process of maintaining a relationship with one's own life. Some people walk away when the surface gets hard. Some people pick up the wire brush. The ones who pick up the wire brush are not naive. They have usually already absorbed the grief of difficult things. They know the work will be long and the outcome uncertain and the hours uncelebrated by anyone who does not understand what is underneath. They do it anyway, not because they do not understand that letting go is sometimes right, but because they have learned from someone long ago in a garage or a kitchen or a workshop that smelled of oil and effort that the act of staying with a difficult thing and working it back toward what it could be is one of the most human things a person can do. The question is not whether a rusted car is worth fixing. The question is what kind of relationship a person has decided to have with the things and the people and the chapters of their life that time has made difficult.